I'm Cheryl Wilcox, and this video is about focal points. Maybe they're often called center of interest, and I'm going to be talking about it in reference to my triptych, which is the Lily Pond trilogy. My intention with this trilogy painting was to paint the reflections or the light in the pond, the reflections of the clouds, and the lily pads, and also the stillness. So to start this triptych, I set up the three paintings on three separate easels. I used ultramarine blue and I smeared the canvas with ultramarine blue plus with thinners to thin down the paint. So I was toning the canvas. When I'm painting, drawing, playing sport, or trying to reverse my car, I really become aware of how my eye is like this telescope and how it has this amazing ability to zoom in and to zoom out, to have very focused, to have a wide angle look. And so I'm fascinated that if I have a bug in my hand, how I can see its detail up close. And equally when I'm looking out to the horizon and I can see a boat or a plane in the sky. So I've got this incredible ability to look a long way away, right up close, and everything in between. And as an artist, we try to understand that, because we know that people actually like something that they want to focus on. And usually that something it often is the effect of light, or it's the effect of movement. We see something flicker and we look towards it. We love to see light on the object. We love to see the rays coming through a break in the clouds and floating down. Or sometimes a really small shaft of light that may only illuminate a very small part of a leaf or a petal. So as an artist, when we are actually painting people or animals, usually it is one of their eye which becomes the focal point, because we are attracted to looking at eyes, and we can focus on about 1 to 1.5 centimeters, a small coin at any one time. So we look at people and we talk to them and we look at their eyes, we might wander a little bit, we come back. So if you have animals or humans in your artwork, remember that it's the eye which is the focal point. Now, when we are doing other paintings, and in my sense these landscapes, then I actually need to choose my focal point, because I know intuitively that people actually want to have a focal point. They want a place where they can land. And also with a painting, it needs a sense of hierarchy. It needs something which is more important than something else. So with this first part of the triptych, this one here, I actually paint on a large S. And I use that using that circle which is inside of my body. And I hold my brush and I literally paint it on. And I did the same thing with this one here. I literally paint on the S. So I like to use S's. Sometimes I also use spirals. So when you can see with this one here, the focal point, it is the light on the ripples. And the S comes around like this. And then these three large lily pads, I put them in really late because it needed it to hold it there. And then I knocked back a lot of this area here because I needed the viewer to come out of this painting and to jump into the next painting. I had to work out a way of movement or of stepping stones to get my viewer out of this painting and into this one here. Now these three paintings, each one needed to work as an individual, and they also needed to work together as a group. So with the composition, I talked about how I love this S shape. I also like the spiral. Also, I use the rule of threes or the tic-tac-toe, the old game of noughts and crosses. I usually put a grid across my paintings, 2 verticals or 2 horizontals. And often I will run dominant pieces such as this line here or the shadow here, the reflection of this tree. It will be on one of the thirds. This dark area here, it will also line up with one of the thirds. So when I'm starting a painting, I actually will put in little marks here and here that I think are on the third point. And when I'm trying to locate my focal point, I try to put it in this middle third here, or sometimes on the intersection of this vertical and this horizontal, because I know that we read from left to right. So we have this habit of starting here, and then what we do is we wander across the painting this way. So I want the focal point to be more towards the right, because if the focal point is over here on the left, my viewer isn't going to get anywhere out of here, and this whole area here is going to be wasted. So I need to be able to get my viewer to come through this particular painting. So the viewer has stepped down here, stepped along the lily pads. They're almost like stepping stones into the second painting. And then we have the focal point, which is here, which is on that third, like I was saying. We also have these other movements or these lines of movement which are coming up here. I point up these weeds and these reeds, they will point up that way. So they almost make like an arrow point, also taking your eye to this part here, which is the focal point here. Now, this area here is the darker area, and this painting was actually a mirror image of this particular one. So when I was painting these, to take you back a little bit, I actually swapped them over 3 times, and I would sort of swap this one with this one and that one with that one until I decided on how I wanted these particular paintings. But this whole area here is a dark shape, and then you've got these areas of light that are coming through it. So in the last painting, remember I told you it was a mirror image? So it still has this large S that was on the canvas. So you came through this one here, again you came through the middle, and these pieces here will help you come into it. This here, the light on this part of the pond was my focal point through here, and then I had to make it fade out so that you could actually get out of the painting. So here we have like another pathway that goes out of the painting, and you can see another like the other pathways that are also coming around, and the giant S. So I'm hopeful that that has given you a little bit of an insight into how I work out the compositions for my paintings. I usually choose my focal point, and I choose some sort of a grid or a structure before I start the painting, so that I have some sort of a concept of how to create this movement or these eye magnets through my work and back to the focal point.